All right, hello and welcome everyone. Good afternoon. Happy week one and happy October. My name is Eduardo Magellan and I am the financial aid counselor specifically for study abroad in both the study abroad and financial aid and scholarships office. And for today's presentation, we'll be going over financial aid and scholarships for study abroad. Whether you're in the process of applying, whether you're thinking about applying, um, a lot of the information in this presentation should be useful in determining if you will study abroad or not. All right, so for today's agenda, we do have a lot of stuff to cover. So first we'll go over things to consider. Then we'll shift over to cost of attendance and budgets. We'll give a brief overview of each program, financial aid basics and examples, non-resident tuition. So if you're a non-resident, how does that apply to study abroad? Summer financial aid, if you're considering a summer program, financial aid in the summer does work a little bit differently, so we'll go over that. Then we'll compare the two, right? So how does financial aid differ from a program in the summer versus a program during the academic year? Uh, then we'll shift over to website and important deadlines you should consider. Then we'll finalize with study abroad scholarship. So there's a lot of scholarships available, and I'll go over the main ones that I'm going to recommend for you guys. And then at the end, we'll do a Q&A and discussion. Throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and at the end of the presentation, I'll be able to answer those. All right, so first things to consider, there's a lot to consider when thinking about studying abroad when it comes to financial aid. So the first thing is how much are you charged for tuition and fees? How much are you charging tuition and fees at UCSD? And how does it differ for tuition and fees for the study abroad program? Do you live on or off campus? If you live on campus, there are separate requirements that are needed to cancel your housing contract. Have you looked at your billing statement and do you understand it? So have you looked at the full breakdown of your study abroad cost? And have you seen what the bill is in that whole cost of attendance? What financial aid are you currently being offered and are you currently using? And within that financial aid, what types of grants and loans were you offered? So depending on the grants and loans, some programs can utilize some grants, some other programs can't. And finally, what is the cost breakdown of your program abroad? Just being familiar with that cost of attendance and how it differs from your UC San Diego cost of attendance. All right, so first I wanted to go over the UCSD cost of attendance. So this chart may look differently depending on when you started at UC San Diego. So this chart is specifically for those who started in the fall 2023, but you can find your specific chart on the Financial Aid and Scholarships website. But for this example, we're going to be using this chart throughout the whole presentation. So for this example, when you study abroad, what we do is we compare your study abroad cost of attendance versus your UC San Diego cost of attendance to see if you're eligible for more funding. And the way we would do that is regardless if if your status is living with parents, on campus housing, as soon as you study abroad, we're going to be using the off-campus housing cost of attendance to determine your financial aid for studying abroad. So it'll be this one here circled here. And the way we would kind of compare is we'll get this total cost of attendance circled in blue there, 44,742. And we're going to subtract the UC ship and the annual UC ship fee of 2961. And as you can see at the bottom, if we do the 44,000 minus the 2961, we'll get a total of 41,781. So this is the number we'll be using to compare to study abroad versus UCSD. All right, program breakdown. So here's a quick overview of all our programs, and I'll go more in detail of each one in the next few slides. So our two most popular programs at UC San Diego are going to be the two at the top there. So on the top left, we have our UCEAP programs. These are UC Education Abroad programs exclusively to the UCs. Then on the top right, we have our UCSD Global Seminars. These are UCSD faculty-led summer programs. On the bottom left, we have our OAP programs, our Opportunities Abroad programs. These are non-UC based. Think of it as our outside programs. And at the bottom right, we have our Global Exchange programs, which is UCSD's bilateral partnership programs. All right, so first we'll go over those four in detail now. So the first one, probably our most popular program during the academic year, is the UC EAP or UC Education Abroad program. So what is the UC EAP programs? They offer UC credit, grades, and financial aid. Options include immersion, special focus study, language and culture, internships, research, and there's a lot of program options, over 400 program options. And the cool thing with UCAP is that you can go at any time of year. So they have programs at any time. This includes a summer, during any of our quarters, semester program. So one thing to keep in mind if you're considering a semester program is a fall semester aligns perfectly with our fall quarter. But if you choose a spring semester, it overlaps with the winter and spring quarters, and you would be gone for both winter and spring quarters. And you can also go for the year as well with UCAP. And the budget, it includes all expenses, including tuition, room and board, airfare, health insurance, local transportation, visa fees. So everything you really need to study abroad is included in the budget. And for financial aid, you are eligible for up to the same funding that you receive here at UCSD. Because it's the UC exclusive program, your financial aid does go with you. And that includes federal, state, and UC aid. And we'll also consider you for an additional 2,000 in the UC grant if you're already receiving it and if you qualify. And for billing, so this is where it differs completely than what you're used to here at UCSD. So billing is administered by the UCAP office in Santa Barbara. So what we do in the financial aid office was we'll repackage your financial aid up to your new UCAP program cost of attendance. Once we're done packaging your financial aid, none of your financial aid will pay out through TriumphPay as it normally does. Instead, once we're done, we'll send your financial aid to UCAP so it could help cover your bill in the EAP portal. And if you're due for a refund there, you'll get it through UCAP. So we'll send the financial aid over, and then after that, all payments, disbursements, and direct deposit is going to be done through the UCAP portal while you're abroad. All right, so next we have our global exchange program. So these are reciprocal study abroad opportunities between UCSD and partner universities. So with UCAP, we work with the UC to build these programs, right? But with UC Global Exchange, UCSD Global Exchange, it's UCSD builds direct partnerships and contracts with the universities abroad. So it kind of eliminates the middlemen. Uh, so we send students there, they send students here. All right, so and there's approximately 11 programs in about 6 to 7 countries. It varies every year, so I will just check the global exchange programs to see which ones are offered this year. And when can you go? You can go during a fall semester, which aligns with our fall quarter, or you can go during the spring semester, which overlaps with winter and spring quarters. And you can also go for the whole year if you'd like. The budget is very similar as UCAP in the last slide. It includes all expenses, including UCSD tuition here, room and board, your plane ticket, insurance, transportation, visa fees. So everything you need to study abroad. The main difference with the budget is that there's no extra hidden program fees compared with UCAP. You pay not only tuition, but also program fees to keep the program running. But since these are direct partnerships, you only pay your actual tuition here. Nothing changes in the budget besides all those extra costs with living abroad, right? So housing abroad, meals abroad, and things like that. And with financial aid, same as the last slide as well. So you're eligible for up to the same funding received here at UCSD. This includes any federal, state, and UC aid. So you'll participate. You're regularly enrolled here, so you're charged tuition here, same as you would, right? And you'll have access to your usual financial aid. So in terms of the actual UC tuition, nothing changes when you go abroad to global exchange. With billing, since this is a UCSD created program, Partnerships Abroad, it is administered by UCSD, so you would make payments and receive disbursements as you normally would here. All right, so next we have our UCSD Global Seminar. So these are summer session global experiences led by a UCSD professor. So you would enroll in a package of 2 courses for a total of 8 quarter units, and there's approximately 15 to 28 students per class. Uh, there's an average about 25 to 27 programs every year. Think of this program as you're taking 2 summer session classes. right? But instead, the whole class goes abroad for those two courses. So they get the broad experience. And these are summer only programs. And the budget includes almost everything, including your program fees. In this case, it would be UCSD summer tuition and fees, housing, and airfare. And with financial aid works a little bit differently during the summer, and we'll go over that in a few more slides. But first is the summer Pell Grant that we offer. If you're eligible for the Pell Grant during the prior academic year and you haven't exceeded your Pell Grant lifetime eligibility limits, you will be able to utilize that in the summer. And the amount will depend on the the total summer units that you take. And if you are Pell Grant eligible for the summer Pell Grant and are a California resident, there is a UCSD summer grant that is available. The amount changes every year, but it's on average $2,000 for eligible students with financial need. And after those two grants, what we'll do is we'll look at, have you accepted loans during the prior year before summer? If you did not accept the loans, we'll just re-offer any unused loans for your summer aid offer. And billing, since these are UCSD created programs, they are administered by UCSD. You would make payments and receive disbursements as you normally would. And finally, we have our Opportunities Abroad programs known as OAP programs. So these are administered by non-UCSD study abroad providers that are affiliated with the UCSD. So all are all outside programs. You can earn transfer credit and your courses can be applied towards your major, minor, or GE requirements. When can you go? Since these are outside programs, you can find any time of the year you can go. So this includes summer and during the academic year and for the whole year as well. And every budget for these outside programs would vary because they're by different companies, but they'll typically include everything you need. Sometimes they'll include airfare, sometimes they won't, some meals and personal expenses. All right, so for financial aid, this is where it completely differs from all the other programs. So uh, for financial aid, you can only use federal and state aid only. So if you're receiving the UCSD grant and your aid package currently and you want to do an outside program, you'll lose that UCSD grant funding when you go abroad through an OAP program. And a consortium agreement and academic planning form is required. If you do decide to do an OAP program, these forms are found in the application, in the study abroad application to fill out. And these forms are needed for us to package your program abroad. And for billing, billing also works very differently since you will not be billed here. You will be billed at your host program or institution directly. So since you don't have a bill here, you'll receive your full financial aid disbursement here, and you'll be responsible for using those funds to pay your host program or institution directly. All right, so what types of financial aid are applicable for study abroad? So let's think of it into two sections, right? Gift aid and loans. And we'll start with gift aid on the left. So first we have the Pell Grant, which is our federal grant that can be used for study abroad. Then we have our Cal Grant, which is our main state grant. UCSD grant, which is our main university grant, can be used for all programs except our OAP programs. Then we have our middle class scholarship, which is our second state grant. And any scholarships can also be applied to study abroad. And for veterans benefits, if you are currently receiving veterans benefits, just keep in mind that the only veteran benefit that can apply towards studying abroad is going to be the CALVIT fee waiver. All right, so shifting on the right, loans. So most federal loans can be used for study abroad. This includes a subsidized loan and unsubsidized loan, which is our federal loans. The subsidized and unsubsidized loans are both student loans. The main difference, and they have the same interest, but the main difference is the subsidized loan will not accrue any interest as long as you're enrolled at least half time. So it will not accrue any interest, nor are you required to make any payments until 6 months after graduation for the subsidized loan. The unsubsidized loan, it has the same interest rate, but interest will start accruing immediately. Then we have the university loan, which can be used with all our programs except our outside OAP programs. And if you're a dependent student, you can utilize the Parent Plus loan, which is a federal loan. Just keep in mind that if you do apply for the Parent Plus loan, a credit check is required. And if for whatever reason your parent is denied, you can request additional unsubsidized loan. And for independent students, they do have the option of private or outside alternative loans. All right, so going back to the chart, we're going to start going into a few examples. So as I mentioned before, when we package your program for study abroad, we compare it using the off-campus cost of attendance, right? So as we did before, we used 44,742 minus the UC health fee or SHIP of 2961 to give us a total of 41,781. So just keep this number in mind as we go through some examples here. All right, so for now, let's not think about study abroad. Let's just look at a general academic year UCSD financial aid package. Right, so the UCSD budget, we're going to use this number from the last slide, 41,781. So it's approximately 41,781 for the whole year. The student in this example is a third year dependent, and they're part of the fall 2023 cohort. Their student aid index from the FAFSA is 4,446 in this example. So what we need to do is we need to calculate the financial need for the whole year for the student. The way we would do that is we would get um, the total budget, the UCSD budget minus the SAI here for a total of 37,335. Right, so this here highlighted in yellow is kind of the magic number. This is the financial need for the student, and this is what we want to award up to. So now that we have this number, let's keep going here. So one thing to keep in mind is students are offered financial need or financial aid up to their financial need, up to that number highlighted in yellow there. And this could be a mixture of grants, loans, and scholarships. So let's look at the chart on the right. So this student is eligible for the Pell Grant based off their FAFSA student aid index. They're eligible for the Pell Grant for 2,950 for the whole year. And as you can see, fall, winter, it'll be split in thirds for fall, winter, and spring quarters here at UCSD. Then they're eligible for the Cal Grant for 13,752. This is also split in thirds. They're also eligible for the UCSD grant for 6,633, also split in three quarters evenly. The subsidized loan for 5,500 based off their grade level. The unsubsidized loan for 2,000. In this case, federal work study, they're going to be offered federal work study in their financial aid package. But as soon as they go abroad, this federal work study will be converted to a university loan. So for right now, just that's why a federal work study is highlighted. And then the rest, a 3,700 will be in a Parent Plus loan. So if we add all these here, it'll equal 37,335, which is that financial need we calculated on the left there. Of this 37,335, the total in green in grants is 23,335. And the total in loans in blue, highlighted in blue, is 14,000. So this is an example of a full year at UCSD, not considering study abroad. So now let's look at if this student went abroad for the whole year through UCAP. So for the purpose of this example, we're just going to say the cost of attendance is the same to see how it would differ. Right, so the cost of attendance for the UCAP budget, it would be 41,781. This hasn't changed from the last slide. They're, as a reminder, they're third year dependent and they're part of the fall 2023 cohort. Their FAFSA student aid index is 4,446. So we would need to calculate the financial need. The way we would calculate the financial need is get the total UCAP budget minus their annual SAI of 4,446, and we'll get the same number of financial need of 37,335. All right, so now that we have this financial need, let's look at the chart on the right. So what changes? So the main thing that's going to change is that students who go abroad the full year will receive only 2/3 of their Pell Grant, but they'll receive their full Cal Grant. So the reason for that is because it goes from 3 UCSD quarters to 2 semesters. That's why we could only disperse 2/3 of this Pell Grant. And all the changes are highlighted in orange here. So although the Pell Grant here is 0, What we do here at UCSD is we recover it by adding more in the UCSD grant. So it's like the student never lost any grant funding, right? And everything else will remain the same. So the student will get, in this case, a little bit less in Pell Grant, but a little bit more in the UCSD grant, right? So it'll be the same totals at the end. They're eligible for the full Cal Grant for 13,752. As I mentioned, a little bit more in the UCSD grant to account for this loss in Pell Grant. The subsidized loan doesn't change at all for 5,500 across three terms. The unsubsidized loan does not change either for 2,000. What does change is before this was 2,800 was in federal work study. Now it's converted in the university loan because federal work study cannot be used for study abroad. And then the remaining will be in a Parent Plus loan for 3,700. So kind of calculating the totals again here, same format, right? So the total here in this column is going to be 37,335, which is that financial need we calculated at the left. And of this 37,335, the total in grants is 23,335. All right, and then the total in blue and loans will be 14,000. All right, so that's a full year abroad. All right, so now let's look at a fall term abroad. So during the fall semester or during the fall quarter, right? So this is one of our most popular terms. So we're going to use the same format as we did the past two slides. So this student then this says, never mind, I don't want to go for the full year, I want to go for the fall. So in this example, their UCEA, what we need to do is we need to compare how much is their UCAP program versus how much would it be for UCSD in the fall, right? So the UCAP fall program budget is 20,971. And when looking at these prices for study abroad, I would say don't get intimidated by the total cost of attendance. As you can see, the 20,971 is pretty high, but what's actually due of that 20,971? In this example, only 8,584 is the actual bill. Everything else depends on you on what you need. They're included in your cost of attendance if you need it, but in most cases, students don't need the whole thing. But in this example, the total UCAP fall program budget is 20,971. If we compare that for the UC versus the UCSD fall quarter budget, the UCSD fall quarter budget is 10,385. As you can see, the fall program is much for UCAP is much higher. So what we'll do is we're going to consider this student for a little bit more in UCSD funding or grant funding. All right, so same example as the last time, right? The 25-26 academic year FAFSA student aid index is 4,446. In order to calculate their financial need, we only need to calculate their financial need for 1/3 of the year since it's a fall program, right? They're only gone for 1/3. So the way we would do that is we would get 1/3 of their total annual student aid index. So their total annual student aid index from the FAFSA is 4,446. 1/3 of that is 1,482. So the two numbers here highlighted in green is what we need to calculate their financial need. So once we do the 20,971 minus 1,482, their financial need for this program is 19,489. So this is the magic number. This is what we want to award up to in financial aid. And it could be a mixture of grants, loans, and scholarships, but the total, we want it to equal this number here. So looking at the chart on the right, so this student automatically the only thing that changes is going to be what's highlighted in orange from what we saw prior, right? So they're still going to get that fall Pell Grant for 984. They're still getting that fall Cal Grant for 4,584. The main difference that's going to change here is they're going to be eligible for up to $2,000 more in the UCSD grant for fall, because their UCAP program is at least $2,000 more than it would be versus UCSD budget. And everything else stays the same. They're eligible for the subsidized zone for 1,833, the unsubsidized zone for 667, in this case, a university loan for 933, and then the Parent Plus loan. The rest is going to be offered in the Parent Plus loan for 6,277. So if we add everything up in this column, it'll equal 19,489, which is the financial need we calculated on the left here. Of that 19,489, the total grant aid is 9,779. And notice that this total grant aid is enough to cover their bill of 8,584 in this example. And then the rest would be offered, the total in loans would be 9,710, or the total in blue highlighted there. All right, so that's a fall term abroad. Now let's look at if the student went during the spring semester instead. So spring semester meaning they would be gone for winter and spring quarter. So this is where financial aid changes a little bit more, just because we have to do the 2 quarters to 1 semester conversion. So same format. So the UCAP spring semester program budget is 20,476. Of this 20,476, only 10,076 is their bill. That's going to be due to UCAP. Everything else is out-of-pocket expenses that are included in the budget, and it's up to the student to budget to see if they actually need. So 20,476 is a UCAP spring semester budget. What we're going to do right off the bat is compare that versus UCSD, right? So the UCSD winter and spring quarter budget is 20,891. So it's slightly higher versus the spring semester budget. And what we need to do is we need to calculate the financial need again, right? So in this case, the student's academic year FAFSA student aid index is 4,446. Since they're going to be gone for winter and spring quarters, we need 2/3 of this. We need to calculate their financial need for 2/3 of the year. So their annual student aid index is 4,446. 2/3 of this number is 2,964. So using the two numbers here highlighted in green, we're going to get the total UCAP budget, 20,476, minus 2/3 of their student aid index, and it'll equal 17,512. So this is the magic number. This is their financial need, and this is the number we want to get to. Now that we have this, we can start awarding, right? So a few changes that are going to happen here. So for the Pell Grant, the student is only eligible for 1/3 of the Pell Grant for the academic year, right? So they're going to lose out on that spring quarter Pell Grant, but it'll be recovered through the UCSD grant here, right? So, and they're also going to be only eligible for half of their academic year Cal Grant as well for 6,876. So what we'll do there is we'll just leave the winter quarter for 4,584, and then the rest in Cal Grant will be 2,292. The UCSD grant will also change based off the financial needs for both for the semester. So they're going to be eligible for 1,327 for the winter, 1,326 for the spring, for a total of 2,653. All the loans won't change with the exception of the Parent Plus loan. So they'll still be eligible for the same amounts in subsidized loan, unsubsidized loan. The university loan doesn't change as well. And then also they're going to be receiving a little bit less in the they're going to be offered a little bit less in the Parent Plus loan as well. So everything in orange were the changes, right? So they're not eligible for the Pell Grant, but they're going to be receiving it through here. They also can only receive half of their Cal Grant, so we had to make that adjustment for spring quarter. And since they don't have that much need, we were able to offer them a little bit less in the Parent Plus loan here. So the total in winter and spring here is going to be that 17,512, which we financial need that we calculated here on the left. Of that 17,512, the total grant is 10,512, and the total loans offered is 7,000. All right, so those are examples during the academic year, but let's look at summer abroad. So if you're continuing a summer abroad program, financial aid, as I mentioned a few slides ago, works a little bit differently. So the first thing is, are you eligible for the Pell Grant during the academic year? If you are, and you have not used your lifetime eligibility limits, you can utilize that Pell Grant and convert it into the summer Pell Grant, the summer after this upcoming summer. The amount will depend on the units, but the main requirements is that you have to be enrolled in at least 6 quarter units. If you're eligible for that summer Pell Grant, you're also going to be eligible. And if you're a California resident, you're also going to be eligible for the UCSC summer grant of approximately 2,000. After those two grants, we're going to offer subsidized and unsubsidized loans. So any subsidized and unsubsidized loans that you did not use in the prior academic year, we're just going to move them and reoffer them in the summer. And if you still have need, we're just going to offer a Parent Plus loan for dependent students up to the summer cost of attendance. And for independent students, they have the option to apply for an outside alternative private loan. The CalVet fee waiver can also be used, and it will, if you're eligible, and it will also cover only the UC summer tuition and fees portion of the study abroad program. And with the Cal Grant and the university loan, those cannot be used for summer. Those are only academic years awards. All right, so now let's quickly compare the both. So we already went through examples of during the academic year, and we also saw the eligibility for summer. So how does it differ? So for summer, as I mentioned, you can get the summer Pell Grant, the UCSD grant of 2,000. You could utilize any scholarships, the CalVet fee waiver if you're eligible, and then any unused loans you can use. Versus the academic year, you can utilize the Pell Grant, the Cal Grant, the UCSD grant, scholarships, the CalVet fee waiver, federal loans, university loan, and a private loan. So what's the main difference? If you are receiving the Pell Grant, Cal Grant, UCSD grant during academic year, let's look at everything that's highlighted in yellow to notice the main differences. So right off the bat, if you're receiving the Cal Grant, I would recommend going during the year, just because the Cal Grant can be used during the year, but a Cal Grant is only an academic year award and cannot be used for summer. And also the main difference is a UCSD grant funding. So during the summer, if you're eligible, you can only get a maximum of 2,000. During the year, there's no specific maximum. It just depends on your financial needs. So a student could be getting anywhere from 4,000 up to 20,000 for the whole year. All right, non-resident tuition. So if you are a non-resident, here are some helpful tips when considering the non-resident tuition fee that you're normally paying during the year. So we're going to be using the same chart that we've been using throughout the presentation. In this example, the total non-resident supplemental tuition for the whole year is 32,574 here, circled in blue. So let's keep that number in mind. So highlighted in yellow, that same number, 32,574. So how does it differ based off when you go abroad? So during the fall semester, non-resident tuition will be half of that 32,000 during a fall semester program. So it'll be 16,287 versus 1/3 of that 32,000 of 10,000, which is 10,858 at UCSD. So if you go abroad, if you're being charged non-resident tuition and you're going abroad in a fall semester, you're actually going to be paying about 5,400 more in non-resident tuition. If you decide to go through a spring semester program, a spring semester program that overlaps with winter and spring quarters, your non-resident tuition will still be half of that 32,000, which is 16,287, versus 2/3 at UCSD of that 32,000, which is 21,716. So if you go through a spring semester program, you're actually going to be paying about 5,400 less in non-resident tuition fees. And if you go in the summer, there's no non-resident tuition in the summer, and you would be treated as a California resident in terms of tuition purposes for the summer. And then non-resident tuition, if you want to go during for a full year abroad, will be very similar as attending UCSD. So the main thing is consider a full year. The cost will be similar, if not the same as UCSD. A fall semester at UCAP or Global Exchange is more expensive. Consider spring semester that overlaps with winter and spring quarters at UCSD, and summer is a great time to go because there's no non-resident fees in the summer. All right, I did want to quickly go over our financial aid study abroad website. All the information that I've discussed so far can be found on our website, and I'll show you where as well. So what can you find on our website? You can find cost of attendance information based off your specific cohort if you want to start doing your own calculations. You can also find our appeal forms, our general forms, including a student aid index appeals, cost of attendance appeals, dependency appeals, and things like that. All the types of aid that we discussed in this presentation can be found, a description of how each one works, summer session information, SAP, satisfactory academic progress information, and general scholarship opportunities and our most up-to-date deadlines. So really quickly, so this session is being recorded. So I'm gonna show you where you can find not only the slides, but the recording of the session, and it's expected to be posted sometime and within the next 2 weeks. So let me get out of here and I'll include this link as well in the chat. So this is our financial aid and scholarships website here. So if we hover under types, we're going to want to go to study abroad and exchange programs. And this is our official study abroad, financial aid study abroad page. So you can find everything you need here. This is the video from last fall, which will be updated. So here's where you'll be able to find the recording of the video of today's recording. And right under it, it'll be updated with the slides as well. So these are all last year's, but it'll soon be updated within the next week or two with today's presentation. But if we keep scrolling down, if you need to contact me at all, if you want to meet to discuss an estimate or you want to discuss your potential financial aid for a specific program, for UC San Diego students, you'll want to use submit a snow ticket using this link here. And then on the ticket form, you're going to want to select make a request, financial aid and scholarships, and study abroad offers. And then I'll receive it there and I'll be able to reply to you through the portal. But if we keep scrolling down, it divides everything by program. So it'll have global seminars, UCEAP, global exchange, and opportunities abroad are OAP programs. But if we click on each one, for example, we'll click here on this UCAP button, you'll be able to get a full detailed breakdown of everything you need to know, what types of aid are available, scholarship information, receiving financial aid, and so on. So everything you need is in this is on this website. All right. All right, so important financial aid deadlines. So if there's any deadline that you should know, it's the 25-26 FAFSA Dream application. So it actually opened a week ago. It opened earlier than we anticipated, so it's open now. And the priority deadline to be considered for the maximum amount of financial aid is going to be on March 2nd of 2026. And these are for if you're considering a program for fall 26, winter 27, spring 27, or summer 2027. And one thing to know is for this upcoming summer 2026 programs, we'll be using your current 25-26 FAFSA Dream application information. So the FAFSA that you currently have right now on file is what we'll be using for next summer. And there's no separate application for summer financial aid. As long as you've been accepted to a study abroad program, you'll be considered for financial aid. All right, so scholarships. So what types of scholarships are available? So there's a lot of scholarships, study abroad scholarships that are available at UCSD. And there was actually in the 24-25 academic year, we awarded over 1 million in study abroad scholarships to UCSD students. So in these next few slides, I'm going to recommend a few that, or highly recommend a few that are going to be open pretty soon. So the first one is a UCSD Study Abroad Office Scholarship application. So this one, think of it as a one and done. So you submit one application and you'll be considered for all the scholarships that are available within the Study Abroad office. The application is expected to open in December. We'll likely open the application during winter break to allow you time to work on it there before the winter quarter begins. And the deadline will be sometime in February or March of next year. And this is for any program that's from summer 2026 or fall 2026. And here is a link to apply as well. As I mentioned, I'll include these slides in our website so you can have all these links here. But yeah, this is a really good opportunity. There's a lot of funding that's available within this one application. All right, so within that application, I did want to highlight something that is new as of last year is our Chancellor Study Abroad Scholarship. So the scholarship will fund up to 50 UCSD students annually with awards of 5,000. So this is available for all students participating in any UCSD program. This includes UCEAP, global seminars, and global exchange for any time of the year, summer, quarter, semester, or year. And as I mentioned on the last slide, the application will open likely in December during winter break. And then I did include the link to the scholarship, Study Abroad Scholarships website. All right, UCEAP scholarships. So if you're considering a UCEAP program, not only can you apply to those UCSD Study Abroad Office scholarships, but you can also apply to UCEAP scholarships. So the main one is going to be the UCEAP Global Scholarships. This is all for all UC students participating in UCEAP program. The awards will be primarily based on academic merit. And the amount is going to be 1,000 for summer programs. And for summer programs, the application opens on January 15th, and it's open for 1 month till with a deadline of February 15th. And for quarter semester or year abroad programs, the amount is about 2,000. So the application opens on January 15th through March 15th for all fall and year programs. And if you're considering a spring semester or quarter program, the application will be opens on August 15th through September 15th. All right, so this is also a one and done situation. So you submit one application and it'll get you considered for all the scholarships that they offer based off the data you provided on the application. Uh, all you would need to do is submit your form with all your general information, program information, and then they'll also require a statement of purpose of about 750 words. And you would apply through this directly through the UCAP scholarships website, and I also included the link there for you as well. All right, if you're considering a UCAP year-long program, these are for scholarships for year students only through UCAP. I'd highly recommend doing a year program if you can, because a lot of students at UC San Diego tend to only want to do fall or spring, but there's a lot of scholarships that are available specifically for UCSD students if they do a full year. So here are two examples. So the one on the left is called the Chris Bourne Memorial Scholarship. So a little bit about this. Chris Bourne was a study abroad student at UCSD in the 90s, and his family wanted to create this opportunity for students to study abroad. So these are merit-based awards. The amount is 8,000, and there's 8 awards total that can be awarded. So since these are you applied through UCAP. Of those 8 awards, since Chris Bourne was a UCSD student, 4 of those awards are reserved for UCSD students only. And the eligibility, you must have a 3.0 GPA or higher, and you are not required to have financial need or financial aid to be eligible to apply. And if you want to learn more about Chris and the scholarship, I did include the website there as well. Then on the right, we have the Dutton Haver Scholarship. So this is based off academic performance and financial needs. So this is need-based. The amount is $5,000 per year. UCAP usually awards 30 plus awards every year. And they do have extension scholarships. So if you do like a fall semester EAP program and you decide you want to extend it to a year, you could be potentially be qualified for an extension scholarship of 2,500. And the eligibility for this is you have to have a 3.0 GPA or higher, and then preference for students with financial need and limited international experience. And the deadline for this application is going to be on March 15, 2026. And I also included the link to apply there. Next, we have our Gilman Scholarship. So this is actually a federal study abroad scholarship. So it's sponsored by the U.S. Department of State. The amount is up to $5,000. I've seen it even up to 7,000. So it just depends on, I believe, funding for that year, and $3,000 for summer programs specifically. The number of awards, so the Gilman Scholarship, they offer about 2,800 plus awards nationally. So you would be competing with students from all over the country who are studying abroad. The good thing is that UC San Diego is a top producer in the scholarship. We receive a lot of recipients there, here at UCSD, and we receive on average about 30 to 40 students are every year for the scholarship. The eligibility, so it does have specific criteria. So you must have financial need and you must be a Pell Grant recipient at the time of application or during study abroad program. And you also must be a US citizen as well. And where can you apply for the scholarship? You apply directly through the Gilman Scholarship website, and I included the link to the website here. And there's two separate deadlines. So they have two application cycles every year. So the first one is coming up on October 3rd, and this is for spring 2026 programs all the way through fall 2026 programs. And then the next cycle is the deadline is on March 5th. And this is for summer 2026 programs all the way to spring 2027 programs. So although these are the deadlines, the application is usually open about a month and a half before. All right, so I know that was a lot of information. So who to contact, right? So I did include all the contacts needed on not only the financial aid office side, but also the study abroad office. So if you have any questions regarding non-financial aid related things, you can submit a question via the VAC through the study abroad office, and the appropriate advisor will be able to answer your question there. Also included a study abroad website link, their advising services link, and then they do have weekly drop-in advising through the VAC on virtual drop-in advising through the VAC on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And you can also follow them on Instagram um, for upcoming events as well. And I also included the financial aid study abroad context. So I included this in the prior slides as well. But if you have any questions regarding financial aid and study abroad, you could submit a ticket, as I mentioned earlier on the website. You would want to select this link and submit your ticket there. And also included everything else. So the UCSD financial aid Instagram as well, if you want to stay up to date with important dates and posts. And financial aid estimates request. So if you're considering a winter or spring 2026 programs, estimates are available now via appointment only, and you would request that appointment through a snow ticket. And for fall 2026 programs, the estimates will be available in the spring quarter. All right, so any questions about anything discussed in the presentation? And we'll stop the recording here.